in my boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
It's
Jerry Reynolds.
Tuesday!
Thanks, LeBron. It is Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Kings Court. We've got Kings basketball tonight. A busy day in the NFL. If you've not been paying attention or living under a rock or slammed at work, breaking news from the NFL. We've got the moves yesterday made by the Kings. My boy Dennis, man. This guy, Dennis, not only is he loyal to the brand, loyal to Bennett's, by the way, who's sponsoring today's show. Huge thanks to them. Get to bennettsrestaurants.com to find out more about all three of their locations. I love all of them. Roseville is usually where you're going to find Jerry, Grant, and I when we get together for lunch. But get over to their website. I'm telling you, the specials are incredible. Prime cuts of seafood, prime cuts of steak, happy hour, everything else. Get to bennettsrestaurants.com. But my boy Dennis, like after the show yesterday, he's hitting me up. He's like, the Vegas odds, the Kings are the favorites to get Brandon Ingram, to get Zach LaVine. It's like, my man, the Kings were probably the favorites at some sports books to get both of those guys before the Kings traded Jalen McDaniels, because the Kings are one of the only teams that showed serious interest in either, which is why both of those guys are still in their original homes. So we've got a lot to get to. Jerry Reynolds joining us today, 2:30. Looking forward to having him on. By the way, if you have questions for Jerry, you all know this, put them in the chat. We will get to as many as possible. Also, I am always open to allowing a couple of phone calls with Jerry. If you want to come on, maybe talk to the one and only Mr. Jim Bob Boley and ask him a quick question, happy to do it. Just keep it tight. Keep it brief. I don't want to have 3-4 minutes. I want to be respectful of Jerry's time. So you're more than welcome to do that as well. The link is in the chat. Also, you can hit the QR code as well. As I said, a lot going on, a ton going on today, including John. John, I got something for you, buddy. I've got something for you, my man.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
John, Jerry Jones, this guy, dude. He just can't stop. He can't stop himself. He's cracking me up. We're going to talk about him. His little weekly radio spot in Dallas today is making national headlines. He was feisty, man. Feisty was the way to put it. I'm sure Adam probably knows what I'm talking about. He threatened the guy's jobs, by the way. He's like, yeah, we're not going to make any in-season moves. And yeah, we've made a lot of bad moves, but look at the good moves. Buying the Cowboys was a bad move, right? But it worked out. But then he says, yeah, well, maybe I'll just replace all of you, the radio guys that he hires. So anyways, we're going to talk about that a little bit. I got audio from him, and we certainly have a ton of Kings stuff to go over, a lot to go over before their game tonight in Utah. I'm going to kick it off with this question, because this is the question going around Sacramento and really the talk of practice, or at least after practice yesterday. And it made for some awkward Mike Brown moments, in my opinion. Not sure if you caught the Kings Court shoot-around this morning. I broke it down and talked a little bit more about that. But I think Mike Brown got a little bit off guard by Malik Monk's comments. So here's my question to you. You think the Kings are tired? Are the Kings tired? We're not even to the start of the season. Yeah, 5 games, 8 nights. I get it, but none of the starters have played, with the exception of 1 or 2, over 20 minutes. Are the Kings tired? Malik Monk thought so. And remember, Malik said he's kind of the spokesperson for the team. For the guys that don't want to speak up, he is the vocal leader. So I think that was a little bit of a surprise to Mike. We're going to go over the audio on that. And I think another big question looming over tonight's game is, what is the schedule going to look like for the starters? Is this the game that the starters go all for if it's competitive? Is that going to be the last game on Thursday in LA? Grant asked me that question yesterday. And by the way, we're going to be hitting you with pregame, post game tonight. So make sure that you come back on the channel. Grant and I will be breaking down the game after the final buzzer and talking about it. But anyways, getting back to the question at hand, is it going to be, do the starters play a lot tonight? Do they go and play a lot on Thursday? Grant asked me that. And the reason I'm kind of waffling here is one of the things Grant said, he's like, well, do you want to have the starters have that big of a layoff? And as I thought about it more, you're going to have a massive layoff either way. If you play them all the way through on Thursday against the Clippers, you still have a week off before the first game. So to me, tonight is the game that you play them all the way through, and then you let the bench, you let the fringe rotation guys, the guys that might be battling for an open spot, go out there, and maybe you give the starters 6 minutes, maybe a quarter on Thursday night, but then you let the other guys battle. And that's when maybe you try to slip Kevin Huerter into a game if he's ready. We've got updates on him and Trey Lyles here in just a few minutes. But yeah, a lot going on. Jerry Reynolds joins us here at 2:30. So get your questions in the chat. I would love to know what you want to talk to Jerry about. Oh, the other big thing, the Kings' 3-point percentage, it's worse than the NBA right now. 24.3%. Anybody worried about that? Anybody worried? I am not, but I want to get the temperature of all of you. Is that something that's kind of bugging you right now? So a lot of good stuff going. Everybody's responding in the chat. I love it. Bane, what's up, man? Tuesdays are the best. Taco Tuesday. Yeah. JR Tuesday, Sean tomorrow, and yes, could it get any better? Absolutely. Once the regular season starts, it's going to get a hell of a lot better. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff here. In fact, you'll have Grant, Jerry, and I all together either on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We're still working that out. So we're looking forward to it. Dumplings indeed. We'll see if Jerry had his weekly dose. He can't have too many of them. That's the problem. And anybody that's new to the King's Court, if you see chicken and dumplings in the chat, that's because it's Jerry's favorite dish. And it's because Jerry many times on Monday night will have chicken and dumplings to carb up for his appearance here on the King's Court. So that is what all that talk is about. Dennis up in here as well. I was talking about him at the beginning of the show. Yes, Jerry is a classic. Which Jerry? Jerry Jones? Man, Jara. We're going to get to him in a minute. I've got a lot. Where do you guys want to start? Do you guys want to start with some of the football stuff? Since we're going to go Kings heavy with Jerry, is that where you want to start? Put it in the chat and let me know. Let's see. Adam, in the land of the blind, the eyed man is king. Adam, you're spitting truth now, my man. I like it. Damn, Adam. Damn. You're getting serious on us here on a Tuesday. It was so weird, and I'm not surprised either. But, I will say this. I'm going to defend the old man just a little bit, because as erratic and spontaneous and combative as Jerry Jones can be sometimes, he did have some decent moments in that interview. He did. And he said some notable things. He said some level-headed things. He just did not want to touch any of the offseason questions with a 10-foot pole, whether it's the running game, whether it's the guys they didn't acquire and did acquire. So he was all right. You're going to hear the bad mostly from the national media, and I've got the bad because it's entertaining, right? But I am going to give that precursor. I think that, he tried to play ball as much as he could with them. Who's better, Jerry Jones or Reynolds? It's not even Adam. What are you talking about, dude? Are you serious? Come on, man. Do better. Derek, them being fired or tired. You believe it. Okay. The reason I saw that as fired is that's what Jerry Jones was talking about earlier today. I don't know. Okay. So year one, and I talked about this in the King's Court shoot around. Year one, Mike Brown worked the guys really hard in practice, even during the season. And it was a little bit of a talking point within the media. It was a little bit of a talking point within the organization. Mike backed off a little bit last year, and look what happened. And I'm not trying to say that's the reason the Kings look different, because that would be an utterly stupid and irrational comment to make. But as it goes for this year, he's backed off as well a little bit. I don't think he's backed off more, but it's closer to last season than it is the first season Mike was here in 22-23. Look, the Kings had a day off before the Portland game. They haven't had two-a-days since week 1 of training camp. So I have a hard time. I get the transition. Now, that's kind of the key here. It's the transition from getting your off-season legs when you've been doing your training, because training and open gyms are so much different than NBA training camp, and then even more different than the NBA season. So I could see a little bit of gray area there. I do, but as a fan, as somebody that follows the team, and Mike, we'll play the sound bites here in a second. Mike's like, these guys are, forget the word he used, elite athletes or something along those lines. Yeah, it's kind of it's befuddling to me. And to me, here's my point. And I want to get all your takes as well. But here's my point. I think if you're Malik Monk, that's something you keep in-house. I think you got to keep that in-house. I know you're speaking up for the guys, but you got to, he's been holding Coach Brown accountable all preseason, all training camp. I think you got to keep that in the house. You just don't open up that can of worms with the media and the fan base. But give me your thoughts. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. Do you think Jay Crowder still has some miles on him? I don't know, Derek. I know that's the sexy name right now with that position opening up. Jay was in for some open gym run in September when the team was here. You got to have minutes for him. That's the problem. And Jerry Reynolds has said that numerous times, and he's spot freaking on. You've got to have minutes for Crowder. Now, you could easily say, Derek, there's minutes to be had there right now, but what about when Trey comes back? And I find it funny, if you look at ESPN.com, they've got Trey and Kevin as game time decisions tonight, which kind of, I looked, I'm like, really? Interesting. But then they also have Orlando Robinson as a game time decision. He's definitely not playing, so I don't know how accurate that is. And how about the article in The Athletic? We haven't even hit on that yet. The staff writer for The Athletic that previewed the bottom of the Western Conference, and yes, he puts your Kings towards the bottom in that group. He put them at 9. He said Orlando Washington in the article. How did that get past him? How did that get past his editor? Orlando Washington? Credit to Whitey. Whitey tweeted that out. I was just getting ready to sit down and read it. And then I saw Whitey's tweet, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So my thought is maybe that 9 was supposed to be a 6. If you can't get a player's name right, then who knows? Maybe you got your numbers wrong too. We're going to talk about that breakdown as well. So again, a lot on our plates today. Dennis does not want to see the starters. Yes, the starters need the minutes and reps. I want to see our bench and who's not named Monk show. But that's the problem. Dennis, so that's kind of that's the quandary, right? Because the guys that would be getting those minutes, the back end of the bench, Dennis, that is truly the back end of your bench. Now, I named 10 guys that I thought might be Mike Brown's rotation yesterday, but I left Kevin Herter out because we don't know what Kevin's status is, right? We're not sure. He's all the way cleared, but what's the plan for him? And we've got an update from Coach Brown here in a second on him. But Dennis, your rotation, if you're going 10 people, you know the starters, it's going to be Monk. Coaches said Alex Len. I think it's going to mean McLaughlin. He's going to be in that rotation. You've got Trey Lyles, and then you've got Herter. That's 10 right there. So I know I want to see some of those other guys too, because certainly you carry 14 and 13 dress, but yeah, I just Colby Jones, it's befuddling to me. I've seen nothing from Colby so far this preseason, and it's a little concerning. It is. I have not seen any progression, and it's early. It's really early, but because that position is a little bit thin with Devin obviously out, or at least not being reevaluated until February. That is a big thing. Bane, yeah, I heard they're going to sign Jay Crowder. Not so sure about that, my man. Not so sure about that. They could. I don't know. That we'll pay attention to what we hear. I'll let you know if I hear anything. But, bring it up with Jerry, because I thought Jerry hit the nail on the head at 34. Jay Crowder had issues last year not getting minutes in Milwaukee. He caused a little bit of drama on the back end of the bench, and that is the last thing you need on this Kings team right now, especially when it seems like the atmosphere, it seems like everything is exactly where it should be. It's copacetic, especially with DeMar there. So again, a lot of things going, a lot of time left until the 24th, but certainly big decisions will be made between now and then. But the beautiful thing about this is Monty McNair has left himself with a ton of room. And I'm not talking about the 5.8 under the cap. I'm talking about the contracts on the team. The team does not have a bad contract as we sit today. Zach LaVine would have been a bad contract. Zach LaVine, in fact, erase Zach LaVine from your damn minds. He is not coming to Sacramento. He is not coming here. Why would you need to bring in another player at that position? You don't. It's the forward position. That, to me, is where the Kings are looking. Now, if you look and you want to break back into the Brandon Ingram conversation, I think that one is a little more interesting of a conversation for a couple of reasons. You only have him for a year. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If it worked out in that year, you could re-sign him and you can go over the cap because he is your own free agent. So could it be a low risk move? Now, 36 million is what his contract's at this year. So what would you have to free up? How do you free that up? They're not going to go into the luxury tax or the aprons. So still a lot of questions there. And look, we still haven't seen Trey Lyles. We still haven't seen Orlando Robinson. The Kings are high on Isaiah Crawford. So a lot moving as it should be when we are at this point of camp. Jerry Reynolds going to be joining us here in just a little bit as the light comes through my window. You guys see that? Wow, got bright. And let's go to practice yesterday. I want to get to what all of the noise is about. So Malik Monk was asked, what happened with the Portland game? And this was the answer that I thought he should have kept in-house.
I think the guys are tired. And the show last night, we didn't have any legs, so we'll figure it out. We've been doing this for a while, so I think we'll be all right.
And there was a follow-up question later in the interview where they asked, what about the three-point shooting? Are you worried? And Malik said, it's preseason. We're not going to show everything. Now, that to me is kind of an asinine comment. We're not going to show everything. You're shooting the ball. You're going to intentionally miss in the preseason? No. He's correct in you're not showing all your sets. We've talked about that thoroughly here on the Kings Court. But You're not gonna come on, Malik. That was not very good. Now, this to me is what threw something off. I feel like Coach Brown was caught completely off guard by what Malik said because he wasn't even aware of it. And here was Coach Brown's response.
We had a day off the day before, and maybe they are tired. I hope not. That's a little scary, But I think it might be more maybe mental fatigue because these guys are like high caliber athletes, and we haven't practiced them too hard. Even our last contact practice, I pulled Malik and Fox and Domas out.
So you can kind of see he's thinking like, okay, I did pull them out. Have I practiced them too hard? I think he was searching a little bit for the right thing to say, and then it kept carrying over. Then he was asked about Kevin Huerter. What's going on with him? Could we see him possibly tonight in Utah? Here's what Coach Brown had to say.
I do know he's played one-on-one, I think, with the coaches, and so he's got some steps he's got to go through. So as you can tell, I'm not even tracking when he's going to be back. I'm waiting for them to tell me he can play, and when they do, then he'll play.
So that one was okay, right? But then he gets asked about Trey Lyles. And this is, to me, where Coach Brown's mind is still somewhere else. I think Coach Brown's mind is still on Malik's comment. Here's the update he had on Trey Lyles.
I don't even know if Trey's playing one-on-one with coaches and stuff like that. So you guys would have to, Shannon can give you the download, but I can't.
Usually Coach Brown, spot on, knows everything. And maybe I'm looking a little too much into it. And really, it doesn't matter one way or the other. But it goes back to the tired comment for me. And then Coach was asked about what's the plan for tonight? What is the plan for the next two games? How are we going to see him utilize the starters? Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, hopefully, both these games, we get through a whole game with them. If not both, at least one, before we start the regular season. But I'm not pressed to do it at the end of the day. I'd like to.
Just again, with continuity, or what's making you teeter back and forth with it?
No teeter. Like if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. I would like it to happen just so they can feel what it's like to be out there exposed and that type of thing. But it's not
like one of the numbers that stood out.
So here's where I stand. If I'm Coach Brown tonight, I'm playing the starters 4 quarters if the game's close for a couple of reasons. One, you've got to get that bad taste out of your mouth from the Portland game. It's got to be gone. And you got to get it out of your system and get it out as soon as possible. The second reason that I'm playing the starters, possibly 4 quarters, is I'm going to push them. This is when you push athletes. This is not when you pull back on athletes. So if the starters are tired, get them ready for it, because guess what? You've got one more that doesn't count, and then you've got 82. And hopefully, at minimum, 16 after those 82 to win a championship. So I'm driving the point home, and I'm playing them big minutes if possible. Is the audio video syncs? Is it not syncing, MC? Appreciate that if that is not working. No, I do not think it was a call out to the squad. No, because Malik's been away from the team he had a personal issue. He missed some time. So no, I do not think it was towards the squad. I think it was a little bit more towards the coaching staff and Coach Brown. And again, I don't want to blow this out of proportion, because it's an open forum when it comes to that building, especially with Malik Monk. Malik has been holding the coaches accountable. I've told you about it all throughout camp, but if a segment of practice runs over, He's over in Coach Brown's face. Hey, we're supposed to be doing this. You got to be. So the fact that there's some pull and tug, that's fine. But, if I'm Coach Brown, I am definitely playing him hard tonight if I can. So, Buddy Hield is here. What's up, Buddy? Buddy, man, we don't like you too much anymore these days in Sacramento. But Buddy Hield is weighing in on whether the starters should play. So risk injury and get them tired before the season. Where is Grant Napier? Grant Napier will be here for post-game coverage, my friend, later tonight. Him and I will be wrapping up the game. But, Buddy, you should have Grant's number. Hit him up. You guys can talk off air. So cool. The Buddy Hield is in the house. Anyways, MC, appreciate it. We've got 14 on YouTube and 137 overall have checked in at some point because we are also streaming to X. Really appreciate it. Look, every Tuesday, we are incredibly lucky to have former Kings coach, GM, absolute legend, incredible basketball mind, and great guy all around, an awesome friend, Jerry Reynolds, joined the show. Jerry, happy Tuesday, my friend.
It is a happy Tuesday. A lot of great sports events. Kings won't be long to be starting the season. Preseason stuff can't end soon enough for me. But, especially a little bit of struggling going on. But, it's preseason. It's preseason. They don't count. There's 82 games that count. None of them have started yet.
That is a very good point. And, Malik Monk said that he thought the guys were a little bit tired, which led to the performance in Portland. I want to make sure you're not too tired. We pulled off the double days for you last week. Are you doing okay?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
I'm not, I think I can give you 20 good minutes and then probably very mediocre the last couple. But, yeah, I'm doing good. I've got a little more energy in Malik right now. So I don't know. I hope Malik can bounce back here pretty quick. He and the rest of his teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you make of that, Jerry? I know it's preseason, but if you're the coach and Malik comes out and speaks on behalf of the team saying that we're tired, do you push a little harder or do you pull back?
Well, I say this. If I were the coach, I'd probably want to have a word with him.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You're tired and, was Portland tired? I don't think, it may be that he was tired or some of the guys were a little tired, but that's, hey, you're going to have a lot of those during the season. So, you got to find a way to push through it and play well when tired, or you're not going to have a good season. I mean, it's not possible. So, it was, kind of cringy, I would say at best. And if I were Coach Brown, I'd say, Malik, you might want to rethink that. And even if you did feel a little bit tired, it's really not an excuse at this point before the regular season even starts.
I think it's great insight. Before you came on, I said it felt like something that should have been a little bit more in-house, and I think it definitely threw Coach Brown for a loop yesterday during his press availability when he was being asked about that.
Yeah, I'm sure, Malik's one of those guys is, to his credit, is always kind of pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes says things just to see how people might react. But again, I'm like you. It's like, tell Coach Brown or the coaches in-house, if you think maybe the practices are too long or too many, you certainly entitled to your opinion. But, I don't think it's, especially after a very poor performance in the season game, to come out with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk preseason through the first 3 games. We haven't talked since the Kings started their slate. What has stuck out to you in the positive column so far, Jerry?
Well, I thought the first couple of Warrior games, especially the first one at home, I thought the first half when the key guys were playing, both for the Kings and the Warriors, it was a really good basketball half. I was amazed how how good a quality it was. It looked like midseason kind of
It did.
basketball, and you know, the DeRozan seemed to fit in seamlessly. I mean, I thought he and Sabonis are already on the same page, and so there's really a lot of positives there. And I mean, really, the Kings lost that game as well as the other one, but I don't think you put much into that. They played pretty much their reserves from that point on, and very thin bench too for the first couple of games. So now the other part, the negative part, is they have just been a terrible 3-point shooting team and a terrible guarding the 3-point shot.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been outscored almost 30 points a game in 3-pointers, now and I was talking to somebody the other day on a podcast, and I said, they're averaging about 0.8 of a point, or less than 0.8 of a point per shot. And really about 1.2, 1.3 is what you got to have to win. And I was saying, just to be accurate here, at a 0.8, if you did that all year, the Kings would be 0-82. I can guarantee.
Wow.
I mean, that's how bad that is.
Wow.
So I mean, you got too many good shooters to continue to do that. I'm not as worried about the shooting as I am the defending part.
Yes, I completely agree with you there. They're shooting just a bit, 24.8% from beyond the 3-point line. And I guess here's my question about the threes for you, Jerry, because I think this team's too good for them not to eventually fall. But what do you think the number should be that they are shooting from beyond the arc in terms of quantity a night?
Yeah, I would think, I mean, some teams should, think they should shoot 50. I'm more in the 30s, maybe mid 30s at the most, depending on how it's going. But I just think this team, especially, it's a quality of 3-point shots more importantly, and I think it's tough to get 50 really quality 3-point shots. So I would like to see him shooting 30, 35 probably would be a good number. And then, of course, you need to shoot 38% or so of those to have a good chance to win. And then, going back to the other side, I don't really care how many the other team shoots, but make sure they're shooting about 32% of them that go in, as opposed to, getting, if they want 50 good looks, don't let them make 25 threes out of it.
Yeah, way too many. What are you seeing defensively that sticks out to you? What's affecting the Kings guarding the 3-point line?
Yeah, I think they've allowed themselves to help defense around the painted area too much, reacting to any kind of drive and all, when maybe the defender's in good position to play his man. You don't need to help in all situations, and we're seeing a lot of unneeded help, and then you can't get back. Then you can't get back to the 3-point shooters when the ball is kicked out. I always used to say, used to kid Mike Bibby a lot. He had a real knack for being in the middle of nowhere, not able to help as a second defender or to get back on the open shooter. I mean, it's you kind of got to choose your poison there at some point, either help or stay.
I could just see Mike's look when you tell him defense was not his thing.
Yeah, I don't think he agreed, but there's plenty of evidence.
Yeah. Way too much evidence against him, no doubt. Jerry getting some love here on the channel. Everybody is excited to see you. Hi, Jerry. MC says, Jerry. Kevin says, Mr. Reynolds, good afternoon. Feel lucky to meet you many years ago. Jerry's punchlines are timed like a Mel Brooks character. How about that? That's a new one.
That's a new one. Yeah, that's very appreciated. Very nice. Really appreciate the fans as always. Obviously, it's really been a blast to get to meet a lot of people. I mean, that's where it's been lucky. Where I always enjoyed my TV time, especially the couple of years I did the pre and post game shows. really got a chance to. That was about the only thing I liked about the pre and post game stuff I did was a chance to meet the fans, because I didn't really, it wasn't near as much fun as actually doing games, but I did get a chance to visit with a lot of fans.
Well, even when you did the games, you and Grant would hang around for a while
Yeah.
after the games.
Oh yeah, no, I was the way I looked at it, if somebody wanted to talk basketball, I'd happy to talk about. I talk basketball in the grocery store if somebody wants to
Sure.
talk basketball. And so yeah, it's fun. Like I say, there's no downside to talking basketball with great fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Furious Wolf says, looking good. After we finished the segment last week, that was the topic of conversation. Jerry looks so great.
Well, that's very nice. I mean, I'm 80 years old, so I can't complain about anything really. I can still see and walk and eat and everything else. So me and Miss Reynolds aren't having sex twice a day. I got to be honest about that. just in case you thought that was happening.
So the anonymous box that's being delivered to the door is actually just I don't know, anonymous box.
Yeah.
It's cards for Jerry to sign.
No.
So
moved on.
I love it. So really quick, I want to talk about the Kings offense, because I think the first game against Golden State, that first run where the Kings came out with the starters, it was excellent. It was dreamlike, Jerry, especially where they were initiating the offense. It was at the elbow. It was free throw line extended, which really opened up DeRozan to get to his spots. But as the game went along, they got pushed out. But more specifically, here's my question. The second unit's offense looks dramatically different than what the first team is doing. Do you think that's by design, or is it just trying to work things out during the preseason?
I think it's probably a little of both. I don't think they know, especially with the second unit, they really don't have their second unit.
Yeah.
Without Herter and Lyles available. Honestly, I think the bench as currently without those two guys, and Carter eventually, and now McLaughlin played against Portland, so that's a nice add. But once the bench, like I say, the bench is just not very good. It's just not good enough. But I think with Herter and Lyles, and then later Carter, as well as McLaughlin and Lynn, now all of a sudden you got a legitimate bench. And so I think it's a case where Coach Brown really doesn't really know what he has. How could you?
Sure.
And the reality is 3 or 4 of the guys playing as bench guys now won't be playing as bench guys.
Spot
later.
on.
So you just don't want to make too much of it. And then again, without say Domas is unique in what he does. Alex Lynn's an excellent backup, but he's a very different kind of player.
Extremely. Yeah, absolutely. And you could almost argue that Mike Brown has not had a consistent bench going back to pretty much the start of last season because of injuries.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's, especially you just hope at the start of the season they pretty much get their bench in place. Now, I think with Kevin Herter, how much he can do when the team starts, but that is such a key, because as you get into the regular schedule, you're playing, games are coming fast and furious, and it's pretty hard to play your starters huge minutes early and them not be affected later. So you just hope that doesn't happen. But like I say, just get your bench. The guys that are going to be your bench. It'd be nice to get them together and get a kind of a comfort zone with them and make whatever adjustments in the offense you need to, because you might want to play a little different with your bench, especially with Monk kind of leading the parade there.
Certainly. And I think him and Len, that pick and roll game, we go back to that. Monk and Sabonis do it really well, but Len has shown the ability to really kind of run the floor a little bit and have some moments where I think there can be some production between those two as well.
Yeah, I do too. I think with Malik, he's a pretty creative playmaker, and certainly with Domas, you're going to have to feed him kind of differently. I think generally bounce passes and let him finish. Whereas Lynn, the lobs.
Yeah, great point.
I mean, because he can go up over people much more so than Domas, and like say Malik can kind of take what the defense gives him that way. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that should be kind of a staple of that second unit.
Great point. And credit to Domas. The Kings have been talking so much about pace. They want to get back in the top 5 in the league in pace. Jerry Domas has been the one, to me, setting the tone and setting the pace by getting down floor and sealing his guy off many times in transition.
Yeah, I don't think you ever have to worry about Domas being the problem. I mean, he really is. I mean, I'm just amazed at his conditioning. I think, his body looks better than ever, and his stamina and stuff is just tremendous. So, yeah, he's perfect for what Mike Brown wants to do as far as pushing the pace and really running the floor and beating bigs down and that sort of thing. So that's a real plus. I like I say, just body wise, I think he and Keegan, I like Keegan's body. Look like he's put on some weight.
Agreed.
But it's well distributed, and just solid. And so, I mean, Domas actually looks even a little thinner. I mean, not that he's strong as a bull, but
right.
Or ox, as it were. But anyway, yeah. So those are some positives, and just like say, I've just really enjoyed too the fact DeRozan seems to fit in seamlessly. I still think they're kind of sorting out how they want to play defense with Keegan and DeRozan.
Expand on that. What are they sorting out?
Well, I think that probably whoever the other team's best forward between small and power forwards, Keegan will guard. And then DeRozan plays the other guy. And some nights it'll be Keegan will be guarding a small forward, and some nights he'll be guarding a power forward. And then, of course, and the interesting thing to me will be when that happens, how will DeRozan handle power forwards? Because that will be a real key. He's obviously undersized. He's done it in the past. So that part, I just kind of want to see just how they do adjust to that. And, Keegan's capable of guarding guards. We saw him do a nice job on Steph Curry.
Incredible, yeah.
But he can only guard one, I mean, you can't guard all 5 of them. So, but I think that's a real plus for you have a young player of his length and athleticism who seems to enjoy the challenge of individual defense.
Have you been impressed so far by Keegan's playmaking offensively? It seems like he's grown a little bit, at least in this preseason.
Yeah, I think he's trying. And, you're right. I think you're seeing some of the rewards of that, his work. Now, I think some of his effort on defense and some of the things he's trying to do off the ball, playmaking has taken away from his spot shooting a little bit. But yeah, that's to kind of be expected. I would, as far as Keegan shooting, I certainly wouldn't worry much about that going forward.
Yeah, he's going to be just fine. I think you hit the nail on the head last season. It's the arc on his ball sometimes. When that ball comes flat, usually it doesn't go. But when it's there and it's arcing right, Jerry, he nails 12, 13 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, he has. I mean, it's been amazing. I think with the flat shot, I mean, generally speaking, shooters, when they start flattening out, it's tired legs.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get the push with your legs that you need. And then so the ball flattens out a little bit. And then with Keegan, you can kind of see that he'll go through stretches and he's a guy that doesn't miss games and plays minutes. Kind of a rarity in the NBA. He and Domas, they just don't miss games.
They do not. And arguably the guys that take the most punishment night in and night out between the two of them. They're like punching bags, Jerry.
Yeah. Well, it's a physical league and they're in where the physicalness is.
Yes.
So that's just, they're able to take it and keep ticking. That's the main thing. Just, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. And credit to the Kings. They've won the points in the paint battle most preseason games so far this season. In fact, they dominated the Warriors 62-22 in the first game. So that's a positive. So a lot of talk being made about how Mike Brown handles the rotation, or the starters, I should say, the rest of the way. Tonight in Utah, Thursday in LA. Jerry, if you were back coaching the team, how are you playing the starters over the next 2 games?
I'd probably I'd pick one game to where I want to play them quite a bit, whether it's tonight or the last one, because you want to start the season having some confidence in your starting unit. So now I've always felt like the last one is the best time because you still got a week off. In effect, now I mean I would say that it's about a 50-50 thing with a lot of coaches. They do it just opposite. They might think this game would be the perfect time to play them quite a bit and then play them very little in the final. I don't have a real problem either way, but I think one of these final 2 really needs to be more of a tune-up for the season. And whichever one it is, it's fine.
The dress rehearsal. Do you think Malik's comments in any way force Coach Brown's hand?
No, I don't think. I mean, if it were anybody but Malik, maybe. But like I say, I think sometimes Malik, to his credit, I think it's good. You always kind of need a guy that's gonna kind of always give him shit stirs, kind of.
Yes.
kind of keep things on edge a little bit, but I mean Malik's a baller, and I think he and Coach Brown have had a good relationship, but a little edgy.
Certainly.
So I think it's one of those things where Coach Brown has kind of jerked his chain a little bit, and he jerks Coach Brown's a little bit. So I don't think too much of it more than that. If he'd been just here his first year or just starting his first year with the team, I'd be concerned. But they know each other.
Yeah, it is actually a pretty fun dynamic to watch in practice between them. Okay, Ferocious Wolf has a question, and I'm gonna kind of tweak the question. Jerry, what do you think is the Kings' weakest link? And I'm going to say in terms of the rotation, the guys that we are going to see, or we could take it another way, and we can say the weakest area for the Kings as a team, whichever way you want to go.
Well, I'm certainly would say the biggest concern to me right now would be the bench. Just don't right now until further notice. It's just not an NBA caliber winning bench.
No.
And so that would concern me because you have to have all those things. You can have a terrific starting line. I think the starting will be fine, but I think the bench right now just isn't good enough. And you can always want. I think could use more size, that's for sure. But there again, Lyles can help that to some degree, but he's not available. But the bench really a concern for me. It's just when those key guys are off the floor, I'm not sure who you count on.
Yeah, Jalen McDaniels traded yesterday to San Antonio along with a 2nd-round pick, which is the going rate to get rid of some salary with the new CBA. Jerry, it's opened up the conversation again about Jay Crowder here in Sacramento amongst the fan base. What has your opinion changed any now that you've seen the Kings thus far in training camp?
Well, with the bench they have, probably a little bit. Yeah, I think Jay Crowder intrigues me a little more than he did, before because he's a proven veteran guy. I don't think he's anywhere near the player he was three years ago, but I think he could be a stopgap guy in the bench, and he can defend a couple of spots. So yeah, he'd be of some interest. I guess my real concern is the fact that you should have an interest in him. You just wish that your bench was I guess what I'm trying to say is to be the kind of team you want to be, you probably shouldn't need him. But I think right now the Kings probably do.
Well, outside of, and again, they're working with limited resources. Herter and Lyles not available yet, but I guess does Jay Crowder really make the bench that much better? It still doesn't take the bench to, and I hate using the word championship level, Jerry, but it doesn't really take the bench to an NBA level bench.
I'm not sure it does. That's a great point. I think you hit on it. I mean, if you just asked that question 3 years ago, you say, sure, it makes it better. Jay Crowder makes it better. But there's been a lot of water over the dam the last 3 years for Jay Crowder, and I don't.
Yeah.
He makes it a bit better, but I'm just not sure that once you get your bench Lyles and Herter back in there, whether or not he'd be of the same value or even as a 35, 6-year-old guy that would even be a good fit.
Well, I worry about that now that you said that a little more, because Jay Crowder and Trey Lyles in many ways have similarities in their game. They're big guys that like to stay out on the 3-point line. So you don't really have, I would say, a Keegan Murray force, that type of forward coming in with that second unit. Is that Alex Len? Is this when they maybe go to the zone, which we've seen a little bit in the preseason, and it's been effective?
Yeah, well, I think you'd probably have to. The thing with Jay Crowder, I mean, he really isn't that big. I mean, he's thick, but I mean, he's probably legit 6'7". That's about it.
Right.
And not particularly long. So, yeah, I hope they're working on a trade of some type. That's what I hope, with the open roster spot, and maybe somebody a little younger, a little longer that they'd like to have a look at. I'll be honest. I think Kessler Edwards is would probably be a little bit of a better help right now. I mean, they didn't
I agree.
anticipate what's happened, but he kind of had some of the things they were looking for, and still young.
Yep, I completely agree with you. And I'm going to transition to a younger guy, Colby Jones. Jerry, where are you at with Colby right now?
Well, I'm disappointed. I'll be honest. I mean, I thought when they drafted him, was a good pick for a second rounder, and but he's had some pretty good runs, whether it's summer league or in G League, and he's shown some things in G. But I guess overall, what I'm saying is he hasn't shown, I guess, me. I'm certainly capable of being wrong a lot, but I just haven't seen a productive NBA player there. I'm not sure it's right now. Colby's any better or as good as Duarte, who really wasn't what he was. I don't know. It just seems like that maybe Boogie Ellis or guys like that might actually be more prepared to go out
I
there
agree.
and help.
I completely agree with you. If you made me do cuts today and I was Monty McNair, and I know the contract situations, if you take that out of play, I would be taking Boogie over Colby Jones every day. And I've covered him in Stockton, and he's solid, but just what you said, Jerry, an NBA level player, I'm not quite seeing it.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me watching him in college, he was able to get places on the floor and kind of create some situations off the dribble. And it seemed like in the NBA, he just hadn't been able to do that.
Sure.
And that's can be the fooler. I always say, judging a guy's quickness against college guys is not the same as judging his quickness and athleticism against pro guys. And sometimes it becomes a seamless thing, but then in his case, to me, it just really hasn't. That's why I think partly why they may have been as interested in Carter as they were. Because I think it'll eventually prove out because it is just a little more speed and quickness, that he has, and so. But anyway, I think probably at this stage, you don't want to. It's not the final chapter with Colby Jones, but certainly a chapter has passed. It may be a year or two, and he still might find a way to be a good player in the NBA, but he's not there right now.
It's an excellent point, because if you look at his game right now, it's what does he do well? And as we sit here and we talk about it, I'm not sure that I could point to one thing that he specifically excels at. If I'm talking about Mason Jones, he's a hustle guy, he's a glue guy, he's an energy guy, right? If we're talking about Boogie Ellis, I think he's got a much better NBA body. I think the game is not moving nearly as fast for him as it is versus Colby. And it's just it's a weird spot for this team. And I wonder how that's going to play in once cuts come around.
Yeah, and they've committed to Colby. I think they signed him to a 4-year
4-year
contract,
deal,
which
yeah.
was really rare for a second rounder. So that, certainly there. I mean, I think they'll probably want to give him another year, and probably as they should, since there's enough spots on the roster. It's not that critical, but the reality is, I guess I'll just sum it up. He's been disappointing, and he hasn't really shown what you expected him to show at this time.
Yeah, a lot of good things being said about Isaiah Crawford. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's a kind of a unique guy, kind of one of those guys kind of they don't have.
Like a Chuck Hayes kind of?
Yeah, he's kind of a unicorn kind of thing. He just kind of can do a few things that the Kings really don't generally can do.
Yeah.
There again, I think there's probably an NBA player in there. I think there's a process ahead of him, though, to be honest.
Sure. He's a two-way guy, and I think that he's going to really thrive in Stockton. I think the work down there that he gets, I think there could be points in the season that he can come up depending on injuries and maybe help in spot duty, but it's definitely intriguing to see what they're going to do with him. And I guess we'll just close here. I've had viewers hit me up. The Kings are now still the favorites to possibly sign or acquire, Brandon Ingram and or Zach LaVine. If the Kings made a move of that magnitude, Jerry, think that it would have to be the Brandon Ingram move rather than the Zach LaVine. Do you see any type of big move like that in the future for the Kings?
Well, I think they're going to try to make a big move. I don't know, if it'd be those two guys. I know those two guys are available for the right deal. I think those teams would move them, and I agree with you. If one of the two, I would go for Ingram. I think both guys probably they're star quality, but they're both flawed a little bit for what reason or another. But I think Ingram would be the easier fit on this team with the way it's constructed, with his length and everything. So, I hope Monty and them, I hope they're really out there looking because, it's a little bit like what you've seen in the West. where Minnesota made a big move.
Yeah, great point.
Will it be good for him or bad for him? I kind of like it. I would like it a lot from New York's standpoint too. But if you really want to compete at the highest levels, you probably got to do some things to try to make yourself better. We saw that with Oklahoma City getting Caruso and Hartenstein, to add to their team. I think whether Westbrook really makes Denver better or not, but it's possible. But it's certainly an addition to do that. And I think it's Dallas getting Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall.
Yeah.
They won the West, and they feel like they got a little better. So I guess getting DeRozan was a terrific get, but it probably isn't the last get or the last player that I think there's another deal out there somewhere that they probably would like to make and need to make.
We said it last week. I think it's that Aaron Gordon theory. They're an Aaron Gordon away from being that contender. And if you look at Ingram, and it's a great question at what cost, and what about Herter? Will he be on the roster come the trade deadline? I would say that it's too soon. Quickly, Jerry, do you think he'll be on the roster come the trade deadline?
I think it's 50-50.
Yeah.
I like Herter as a player, but he does have the big thing. He has value in the league if he can just be healthy and playing as well as he normally has played. And I think sometimes we forget that when he's Atlanta, he generally played as a reserve, and he's terrific in that role. He was their key reserve when they went to the Eastern Finals about 3 years ago, and so he does have a lot of value he has value to the Kings, and he probably has maybe even more to some other teams. So that's why I'd say, his contract is such, his youth, his versatility. I would say there'd be some contending type teams where he could be a nice fit for them. And then it's a matter of, maybe they have too much of something that would fit, fit the Kings better. So hopeful
Yeah.
that would be the case.
Absolutely. And to the Ingram thing really quick, I mean, possibly he could be involved in a deal there that helps the money make sense. But with Ingram, Jerry, we hit on this all the time. You can re-sign your own free agents over the cap. Brandon only has 1 year left on his deal at $36 million. So in some ways, it could be a low-risk move if you can make the players and the money work. And if it works out, hell, you might have found your Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Brandon Ingram's got enough talent. We've talked about this. I mean, he's an all-star level talent. His biggest problem has been staying healthy.
Yep.
And that really is a concern. I mean, because at some point, if you're averaging 50-some games, that's a concern, whether your name is OG Anunoby or Brandon Ingram or Zion Williamson. At some point, availability is a big
Kawhi Leonard.
And especially when you're talking about, a couple $100 million contract. And so that's all, kind of to be added in, especially when you figure on Fox maybe, available for a huge deal this time next year. And
yeah.
Since he's, so anyway, a lot to consider. I mean, it's not just a player, and I think sometimes we all forget this. It's okay. What is this? Is what you're going to have? Is the money you're going to have to be expected to pay him worth the deal? I mean, in other words, it's because sometimes, it's like the Clippers. They decided that, they didn't get better by losing Paul George, but they didn't want to be committed long term to a big money deal to him.
Yeah.
Now that can, on the short term, that may be a mistake, but long term, it may be the right move.
Yep. No, you're absolutely.
So there's all those kind of things that drive front office people goofy.
That's why they've got teams of people making those decisions.
They got enough people up there, but there's usually only one decision maker, but they got a lot of people behind the scenes anyway.
Yeah. How big was your team when you were in the front office?
A lot small. Well, when I was in front, I was the team.
I know you were the GM,
but I think by the time Jeff Petrie came, then we had about three people that you'd say the basketball operations that were involved. Okay. Of course, Jeff made the decisions, and generally, until Maloof ran out of money, made mostly good ones. But yeah, in today's game, I think most front off basketball operations would have 5 or 6 people in the same capacity. But it's just a proliferation of the whole thing.
Would you have had an analytics team if analytics were?
I think it's a good tool, but I think it's a tool. To me, analytics is like strength and conditioning coaches. It's a good tool, good thing of value to have, but don't make it more important than it is. A guy building strength in the locker room isn't near as important as a good small forward making shots. Don't get away from what really is important, talent on the floor.
It's a good point. Your Chiefs, they stay undefeated this week on the bye. We're going to transition in a second once I let you go to Jerry Jones. He's back in the news. Jerry, what are your thoughts on Mr. Jones?
He had his 82nd birthday and watched his team get destroyed. I don't know how much of a present that was, but I get a kick. I admire him in this sense. I mean, he's been an amazing businessman.
Yes,
former Arkansas football player who bought the Cowboys for a couple $100 million at the time, and of course they're probably worth $5 or $6 billion now. So he clearly is a brilliant businessman who would like to be a brilliant general manager, and he clearly isn't. So, he ought to stick to what he's really good at, and go find, and certainly the Cowboys are the kind of thing they could attract the very best of football minds in there.
Absolutely.
And then let them let them do it. Now that'd be the tough part, because whoever went in there to take general manager's job, you'd wonder if they'd be allowed to. you know, so that'd be my only advice to somebody if that ever happened. It's like, well, get it in your contract that if he ever ever keeps you from making something, that he's got to buy you out immediately or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Get creative with the contract. You know what I find crazy? Jerry's 2 years older than you, and he looks 10 years older than you, my man.
Well, if I'd been running the Cowboys the last few years, I'd look about 10 years older than him. So he's he kind of wants the heat, and he's getting the heat.
Yeah.
That's a problem with that. I mean, as an owner, he could really kind of diversify some. So like I say, it's the Cowboys, and it's has been a great franchise, but at some point, boy, they're going to have to get it figured out. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting road. Grant and I were saying yesterday, the fix to the problem is something that's not good, and you don't usually want to talk about it too much because it doesn't seem like he's going to relinquish power anytime soon. But
No.
Jerry, everybody out there, so here's your secrets. If you want to look as good as Jerry at 80 years old, you got to do your chicken and dumplings. You got to moderate, though, but you got to get them in the rotation. You got to walk every day, right? You got to come on the King's Court, keep the mind strong, talk basketball in the grocery store, and no more coitus 2 times a day, gentlemen. Slow it down. Slow it down.
No, there's by the time you get to be 80, you can focus on other things.
We can focus on each other. Jerry, you're the best. Thank you so much for joining us.
Can't wait till next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks,
all right. The one and only. Thank you, Jerry. Jerry Reynolds. Great Tuesday conversation, as always. Oh, incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Jerry said no. You got to cut it back, Adam. Cut it back, my man. You want to look that good at 80? Cut it back. Let's see. Blazers took a page out of the Pelicans book and put us to work. It's one of those things, Dennis. It's that too big look. It's what are the Kings going to do with size? But I'm going to give it a grain of salt for this reason. And it's the fact that the Kings are not throwing everything at their opponents. A team like the Blazers, you're going to be running a little bit more zone. In fact, you're going to be running a lot more zone defense, in my opinion. And that's something you're not going to do a ton of in the preseason because you don't want to put it on tape. You can put the basic things on tape. The basic 2-3, no problem there. But the more complicated zone schemes that you're going to do where you drop from man to zone, you don't want that to be on tape before the season begins. So unlike 3-pointers, which I disagree with Malik Monk that we're not going to put everything on tape in the preseason. Unlike 3-pointers, the zone does apply to Malik Monk's statement in that sense. Dennis, we know size. We know size. How big men came into the league? Zach Edey Klingon.
Damn.
What? I don't have my what sound drop available there. Anyways, great conversation with Jerry. Yes, indeed. Thanks to him as well. You have to talk Kings shop. Love it. All right. We will continue talking our Kings and whatnot. But first, let me remind you, we are brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Make sure that you go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Do me a favor, seriously. It's not just their regular menu, which is incredible. They have redfish, by the way. And no, I keep saying this, it's not the color of Grant's hair. It's not like bright red. But what it is incredibly delicious, incredibly good. They blacken it with some Cajun seasoning, give you a lemon wedge, some awesome sauteed spinach. And they have prime cuts of steak as well. New York prime's one of my favorite. The hanger steak What do you know about the hanger steak? Not many places have that on the menu. Bennett's does. That's the cut that the butchers usually keep for themselves because it doesn't sell for a lot, but it tastes like a filet. So the fact that you can get it at Bennett's is amazing. Also, incredible specials, brunch on the weekends, happy hour 2 to 6. Yesterday, wine and dine Mondays. You can get a bottle of wine and 2 entrees for under $70. What I'm telling you is Bennett's has everything. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com for more information on all of their locations. You can also make reservations, buy gift cards, check out everything I've been telling you about, and so much more. And also, keep them in mind. If you're doing an office get together, if you have a holiday party, they have beautiful private dining rooms. Huge thanks to Brian and the team at Bennett's for sponsoring the King's Court today. Fun conversation with Jerry. Really enjoyed that. We are so lucky to have him on here every Tuesday. And Grant and I will be back tonight, right after the game in Utah. Really good stuff from Jerry about Colby Jones. That's been a big topic of conversation. Any surprises from Jerry? Anything that you heard surprised you? The Jay Crowder conversation I thought was interesting. Adam hopping in. Saw a dude at Buffalo Wild Wings today with a Joe Hendry shirt. No way.
Say his name and he appears.
He had the JH shirt. That's awesome, Adam. I love me some Joe Hendry. In fact, you know what? It's time to talk about the old man. We have hinted at it for about an hour now, an hour and 15. Yeah, let's talk about him. In fact, let's go over our headlines really quick just to get these out of the way. Davante Adams, he is a Jet. No surprise there. Maybe a little bit of a surprise because the Jets are not doing well. But Aaron Rodgers gets his dude. Theoretically, it's still kind of early in the season. The Jets' schedule, not terrible. If they can find some way to protect Aaron Rodgers, maybe they still have a fighter's chance. And how about that dude, Aaron Rodgers, coming into last night? Oops, wrong one. Did my Hail Mary screen go away? It sure as heck did. Darn it. Anyways, is it gone? Yeah, it's gone. Anyways, coming into last night, we'll go to this one. Aaron Rodgers was 60% completion rate with Hail Marys. He got another one last night. Incredible stuff in the loss. The referees, my goodness, so many flags last night. Really hard to watch that game. Amari Cooper headed to the Buffalo Bills. How about that? Headed to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo looking to get another playmaker. Receiver's been a question mark since they let go of Stephon Diggs. So that is a somewhat significant news. And of course, that brings us to the man of the hour, Jerry Jones. John Finch, are you listening, my friend? John, I hope you're listening right now. Jerry Jones did his weekly hit on a AM, or I guess it's an FM station, AM FM station in Dallas. Remember, the Cowboys got the brakes beat off of them this last weekend. Awful performance. And not just that, the Lions rubbed it in. It was like they were putting on a performance for Jerry's birthday. They had trick plays. They had 5 or 6 different plays with linemen that went out into patterns. It was, as Adam put, it was freaking glorious. And I know you're referring to Hendry, but it was glorious to see the Lions do what they did to the Cowboys. Raiders traded Adams for Corn Dog. Oh, no more Corn Dog. Interesting. Derek, how are the 49ers favorites this weekend? I don't know. Probably because they're getting a little bit healthier. They're at home. That makes a big difference. In KC, although they're undefeated, they have not looked great, which a sign of a great team is being able to win ugly. but they have not looked great this season. But yeah, I'm with you, Derek. I'm still taking the Chiefs in that one. Speaking of the Niners, Ricky Pearsall has returned to practice. So getting back to Jerry Jones. Feisty this one this morning. Jerry, here's your first clip, by the way. This is how it started between Jerry and the host.
Oh, I remember those criticisms very well. Okay, so what?
Are they playing out to be accurate?
What's your point? What's your point?
My point is, it seems like
point?
my
Listen, let me tell you what I'll do. Let me tell you what I'll do about it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over a radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not. And I really don't, and I don't even want our listeners to listen to me, to talk about, this is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job.
well, my job.
Jerry, that is exactly their job, my man. No, I'm not saying that they should hone in and target you for every bad decision you've ever made since what, 1970 something? And yes, I get that buying the Cowboys was criticized and it turned out being a great move. Believe they are the most valuable franchise in sports. But my man, Jerry, when you put yourself in the spotlight constantly, more than any other owner. And this is coming from a guy that covers the Sacramento Kings, where the owner before every single game has to take a picture with a player or have a B or C-list celebrity sitting to the right and left of him. We're used to that. And you are 2, 3, 4 steps beyond that, my man, Jerry. And on top of that, you don't let go of any power. You think you know best. Just because some of your decisions have worked out does not mean that you are a football genius. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. You know, the most powerful and brightest owners in sports, do you know their greatest trait? It's delegation, a word that I don't think that you even have heard in your lifetime. Now, if I said nepotism, you would definitely know what I was talking about. So yes, Jerry, it is their job. It's their duty to the fans to ask about the areas of the team that were not addressed in the offseason. You can't just hang your hat on the fact that we re-signed Dak. We got CD into camp. And this has been a slow burn for Cowboys fans, especially after Derrick Henry ripped your hearts out a couple weeks ago. Literally. Because that's a guy that you could have had. And what did you say? There's not enough money to go around for everybody? Jerry, sell that giant ass red cattle that you put on the field on Thanksgiving. And I understand it's for a good cause. I bet if you auction that kettle off, guess what, my man? You would have had enough to sign Derrick Henry. So Jerry continues on, and the hosts continue pushing. Here is Jerry Jones again.
And apathy, if you saw the letters and things I'm getting, that's the last thing from apathy. You're seeing very, very keen, intense passion about what we're not doing and concern about what we're doing. And that's the reason that I love this thing, is because you have that kind of passion. I love the passion. And nobody more passionate than our Dallas Cowboy fans. I'll assure you one thing, and I know you guys know it. I'm not afraid to make decisions. And I can live with anything that we're talking about as far as criticism about those decisions. What I'm going to worry about is whether those decisions can pan out in a positive way. You've got a lot of reasons why they don't. And you got a lot of teams up here looking around at some of the decisions they've made over the last few years. Just because everybody else is making bad decisions doesn't mean that justifies you making a bad decision.
You say you
So
don't.
We can go into this. We can go into this. I'm saying what I'm saying. Don't tell me what I'm saying.
Okay.
You listen to what I'm saying.
Jerry, why are you getting?
Jerry, dude. And in this same thing, he talked about the Dallas fans deserving better, and that's why I gave him credit. They do deserve better. Yo, Jerry, my man, you know the decision that you need to make? The most important decision is letting go a little bit, my man. If you think Dallas fan loves you now, they will love you more than ever if you just sat your hiney in the box with whoever the hell you wanted to sit in that box with. Hell, I don't even care if you were snorting a line of cocaine and drinking out of a liquor bottle. Dallas fan would still give you a standing ovation because you let go of a little bit of the power. My man, have you ever been smothered in your life? Have you ever had the girlfriend with the crazy eyes? That is what you are, Jerry, to this fan base. Do you understand that? You are the crazy, smothering owner/girlfriend that when it's time to let off the gas, what do? You put the pedal to the damn floor. So what do you think Jerry does after this? Do you think he kind of levels out, calms out? No. You know what? Why don't we threaten the jobs of the hosts?
Mad at us. We're just asking you why the blowouts are happening, the historical differences at home. We're just asking about it on behalf of the fans, and you're getting real ticked off and mad at us. We're just
I'm not. Hey, can I tell you something, guys? I don't get mad at people that I can not be with if I don't want to be with. I don't get mad. You're asking me for a response, and I'm giving you a response. We got to play better. And we got to play better at specific points. No, there's no looking for stepping out here and bringing in 20 new players between now and the bye. That's not the way it works. But I like the players that we have. You go around this league and you will see a high recognition of the quality of players we've got. We should be able to not have happened to us Sunday with our players that we've got. Shouldn't have the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and not having have more production, but he's got to have blocking. He's got to have the routes run right. And the other thing he's got to do is it helps if he weren't playing somebody as strong as Detroit was Sunday. They were pretty strong. We hope we get a chance to show that those type of things I just mentioned works.
Jerry, did you have a problem with all the trick plays, pouring it on, the offensive lineman stuff that Detroit did?
That was a lot of fun that you're having. You can do that when you've got a lot of time. You can do some things defensively when you got your other team reeling. And I will tell you that they had a great time out there at our expense, and that's fun.
Damn right they had a great time at your expense. Jerry, tell you what, man, you continue liking those players that you've got, and Dallas fan will continue hating your regular season and playoff records. All good, man. Instead of handing out threats, you should be handing out stale toffee candies from your pocket, my man. Hire people to do their jobs, and that's exactly what those radio hosts were doing. If you can't handle the pressure, give it over to somebody else or don't make the appearance. The problem is this dude cannot even think about life outside of the spotlight. In fact, I wouldn't put it past this dude like Steve Jobs to have future plans already written for the Dallas Cowboys. And in effect, after he passes away, I wish no harm or bad things on Jerry Jones whatsoever. But we all know that at this point, that's where it's headed. Cowboys fan, this is your reality while this man is still the owner of your football team. Enjoy your mediocre regular season record and your terrible postseason record, and keep looking at those Lombardis that are collecting dust, because there ain't going to be a new one next to them anytime soon. Jerry Jones, dude, come on, man. Come on. Like, I don't understand people in power that if you're going to be somebody in power, and you're going to make a strong statement, be respectable. Make a strong statement. Don't be passive aggressive. Man. So, John Finch, I've got one question for you, my man.
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? All right, guys. We've got a full night still of coverage for you. And yes, eat it up. Have fun with the Jerry Jones audio. There is still plenty out there. Oh, thank you, Andrew. Wasn't trying to turn it into a rant, just a little bit of frustration. Yeah, I know, my man. It's tough. Adam is in Texas. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Sell the kettle. That's charity, bro. You could split the, you could give the money. You could give them part of the money that the kettle is worth. They'd still have enough to get Derrick Henry, my man. That's why it's just so hard for me to understand. Like, Jerry's just gonna Jerry. Jera is going to Jera. That's the end of the story. Just leave it at that. All right. Don't forget, we are back tonight. Post-game coverage for you of the Kings and the Utah Jazz. It's going to be a fun one. See what the Kings do handling Walker Kessler. Also, Kevontae George, he's given the Kings some problems in the past. Coming off the bench, Colin Sexton, a little bit of problems. But this should be a team the Kings win, and I stand by what I said at the top of the show. I think if I am Mike Brown, I'm pushing the starters tonight. This is the game that they are going to get the most run, and you put them on ice for the most part the rest of the postseason or the rest of the preseason. Looking forward to post game tonight. It'll start immediately after the game. If the game is a blowout, we may start post game early. So stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed to If You Don't Like That. If you are not, hit that QR code and get signed up. It will let you know when we go live. And don't forget, this is the preseason for us too. Once the regular season hits, we are doing pregame, halftime, postgame shows for every single game and halftimes. Jerry Reynolds will likely be joining us again this season. Also, you get Sean Salisbury tomorrow. Grant and him will be together breaking down all of the NFL action and looking forward to week 7. And a lot of good stuff going. So please subscribe and make sure that also you are following the King's Court on X and subscribed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You get exclusive audio there outside of this show. In fact, you've got a morning shoot around that was recorded earlier today. So if you are following there, you've already had access to that. I give you what I'm hearing from inside the building. We listen to audio from the team. We break down certain things. It's a really fun show, and it's a quick show, usually about 20 minutes. So give it a try if you haven't already. And again, a huge thanks to Jerry Reynolds joining us today, as he always does on Tuesdays. Extremely blessed to have him on the channel. And tonight, by the way, speaking of rants, you will have a chance to choose Grant's rant on the post-game show. That's right, a rant with Grant. If you have an idea that is better than what he's bringing to the table, he will go with it, and he will make that his rant. That's brought to you by EDH Motors. So make sure that you get your ideas in on the post-game show tonight. That is it for us. A lot of good stuff from Jerry today. A lot of good stuff from all of you. Thank you very much for all of your contributions. Looking forward to tonight, Kings and the Jazz. What will Mike Brown do with the starters? And can the Kings get the bad taste out of their mouth from the game against the Blazers a couple days ago? I say they do. I think the Kings roll tonight. Looking to see how that bench looks, but I think this is the game for the starters. We will see. Make it a great rest of the day. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Court is dismissed.